Earthquakes, lightning, pouring rain, tornadoes, tsunamis, and a hurricane. Killer Earth.
I'm just gonna start recording now because I can edit it.
Okay, so should we start like by introducing?
Yeah, you want to start, Kat?
Okay.
Since it's your sister.
Okay. Ready? Go. Hi guys, it's Kat.
Hey. Oh.
Hello.
And my sister Lauren. Woohoo!
Yes, we have a very special guest today.
Yeah, it's called Survivor Alert 101.
And it's one of
Yeah.
Kat's 7,000 sisters.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you, Lauren. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, of course. I'm not sure. Hopefully I'm exciting enough for telling this story.
Oh my gosh, you are.
I have coffee in hand. I need to wake up a little bit.
I know. I have my coffee too. I've had like 3 million cups though.
Me too. I'm getting a little jittery.
I know, me too. But it is like 1 degrees out right now where I am. Lauren, you're in Tulsa, so it must be warmer there, huh?
It's not warm, but it's definitely warmer than 1 degrees.
For all of you who don't know, like internationally, Tulsa's in Oklahoma, so that's where she is.
And if for those of you who don't know where Oklahoma is, I feel you. It's above Texas.
Yeah.
Is it considered the South or the Midwest?
I think it's not considered the South. It's considered the Midwest.
Like
But
Bible
it is
Belt.
very, yeah, it's definitely Bible Belt. It's Tornado Alley. It's all the things you want, you know?
Mhm.
Oh yeah. Lauren and Jesse haven't you guys seen like a tornado coming at you?
Yeah, my fiance, his name's Jesse. He had a tornado in 2019 kind of skim his house and ripped off part of the roof.
Oh my.
Yeah.
See, I could never live there.
Yeah.
Do you guys
It's
have a
pretty-
storm shelter?
No, I have a basement, but
Well, that's
they
good.
say, well, kind of, because they say if the house got ripped off, the basement doesn't do you much good because you just kind of get sucked out.
It's just like a hole.
Yeah.
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 Do you guys want to build a storm shelter eventually, or?
Yeah, we want to, he lives out in the country, so we want to build maybe out there eventually, and put a basement in with like a storm shelter down there. Because
Yeah.
especially since his house was already hit by a tornado, I'm not going to tempt fate twice.
Yeah. Didn't Josh, our brother, put one in? A
Yeah,
storm
he did.
shelter?
Yeah, they dug it in under the cement in his garage.
Oh yeah, it's so awesome. It's like a container you can buy. And I think I remember he installed it or something recently.
Yeah, and it's a little cubby hole that's you just climb into.
Yeah, that's the
Right.
smart thing to do if you live in Oklahoma, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know if it's true, so maybe I shouldn't say because people are gonna be like, you don't know what you're talking about. But I heard that the tornado alley is shifting east a little bit, but I'll have to read it up on that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so they've had a lot more deadly tornadoes more to the east in the last decade or so, like Alabama and
And like Georgia, I
Kentucky
think.
and Georgia. Yeah,
Yeah.
like kind of over towards that direction. But
I wonder why it shifted.
I don't know.
That's so interesting. That makes so much sense.
Complicated meteorological reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, when that tornado hit his house, we're getting off topic of what we're talking about today, but
No, it's fine. That's what
we
this
had-
podcast is all about, off topic.
Yeah, so we were, that's hilarious.
We're gonna
So
rename it.
We for a whole week the tornado sirens at my house went off every day for a whole week. We were like laughing because the joke is in Oklahoma, when the tornado sirens, most places they go down to their storm shelters, and Oklahoma is like, hey, grab a beer, let's go outside.
Because they're tough.
And I literally did. I went outside and had a beer, and I was like, I'm proud right now. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
So terrifying.
I will go outside and you look up because you're like, wait, where is it? You see, it's very smart. We're a very educated population.
I would do the same thing. I would wait until the last minute because I
Yeah,
want
I
to see
mean-
the tornado.
I think you sent me videos from that week and it was terrifying. There were like
yeah, the river was the
sirens.
most flooded it had been since, like, I have a picture because I do like just photography for fun on the side, and I have a picture of a guy paddle boarding down like a street because it was flooded.
Why?
So
The river
It's like
was
I got to
the
get
most,
my exercise in today.
I don't know why, but it was the most flooded it had been since like the early 80s. It's kind of crazy. And
Wow.
it was just like every night was tornado sirens where I was like not even getting up. It would go off at like midnight and I'm like, yeah.
yeah.
When a tornado siren happens when I'm in Dallas, I start crying and saying the Hail Mary.
I know you always
and I'm not even
text me.
religious.
It's coming for us. You always
Yeah,
text
you and Julie, our other sister is named Julie. Julie panics.
I know. I panicked too. One time we were in, were you there when at that Christmas when that tornado siren went off and all of you guys were like hanging out by the tree singing Bob Marley, Don't Worry. And Julie and I were crying and hovering in the shower.
Yeah, I was like, you guys are psycho.
Oh my God. But I remember the videos you sent me and they were like green sky, like twirling around, like not like the funnel, but I remember you sending that to me and I was like, I think I sent it to you, Vanessa, because I was freaking out.
You always send it to me.
Yeah.
Well, I was living in we were living in Oregon last year, and the rain there, I'm so used to the rain being like these huge droplets, or you can't just go outside and walk in the rain. And everyone in Oregon's just walking around, and apparently you're known as a tourist if you have an umbrella. I was like,
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah. So when I got home, I sent our landlords a video. I was like, this is what we were talking about when it rains, and it's like you can't even walk a couple feet or you're completely drenched. So
Yeah.
the storms, they're different here, but
So last week we just covered sneaker waves, and I was telling Vanessa and everyone who listens that your ex-therapist's fiance died in Oregon because of a sneaker wave. That's right?
yeah, she had I guess he went out to save somebody that was drowning, and then he ended up drowning.
Isn't that crazy? We both tried to find the article, but we couldn't find it.
I couldn't find it, but
Yeah, that's so sad.
yeah.
Did you ever have any problems with sneaker waves out there, like when you visited, or?
No, but not that any problems, but you definitely notice when you're at the beach, you're like, oh wait, run, because like
Yeah.
every once in a while one is way bigger than the other. And my friend warned me because I had never even heard of that, and she's like, be careful, especially in the winter, don't climb on driftwood, don't do this, that, and the other, because she's like, people die every year.
Oh my
Wow.
God. Yeah, that's insane.
And isn't it kind of unique to the West Coast?
Yeah, there's other places that have it, like Iceland in particular has really bad sneaker waves. I don't know exactly where. I know that the West Coast is definitely where it's not I don't believe they're on the Atlantic at all, but I'm not sure.
Because I had never heard of them.
Yeah, I don't know. I know Iceland obviously is over there, but I think it's on, maybe, I don't know. Who knows? I actually don't know.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, we wanted to definitely interview you because you've had quite the year, 2021.
Earth's been trying to kill me, you know what I mean?
Earth has definitely been trying to kill you and your fiance.
I know. Yeah, Jesse, we both had a hard year. He got a branch to the face, so that could be your next episode.
Yeah.
When trees attack.
Seriously, you want to tell us a little bit about what happened?
Oh, to him
Yeah,
or me?
you. I mean, both.
Tell
Jesse.
us about Jesse first.
No, it's not really the Earth's fault. It was definitely human error.
It usually is, by the way. I'm constantly victim shaming people.
Yeah, this is called
Podcast.
victim blaming podcast.
Because I'm always like, really, you like hiked that mountain at that time of year with those shoes.
Yeah,
You're an
I
asshole.
know. I know you. It's kind of some of these things. It's like, well, you kind of put yourself in that position.
Yeah.
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 Well, he was on a bulldozer. I know he was on a bulldozer.
But he was working. I mean,
He's a
it wasn't like he
he's
was
a
riding it for
nurse.
fun. Yeah.
He's a nurse, so that's not like he doesn't work on a bulldozer, but he
I've never
owns
heard
one.
anyone riding a bulldozer for fun. You would just throw that in there, but nobody does that.
I mean, it was a joyride. That's what he was doing. No, he was doing a job for somebody near his property and backed up. And he usually always wears eye gear, but he didn't have any on that day because he was just hopping on to do something really quick. And he was backing up and didn't see that a branch had caught to the bulldozer's cage. And when it released like a whip and hit him in the
Ugh.
face.
Holy shit.
And he punctured his eyeball and had to have emergency surgery. And he's had 4 surgeries now and has to have maybe 3 or 4 more.
Yeah.
Can he see out of the eye?
Well, they had to remove his lens and he can see. They think he'll get his vision back, but not ever as good as it was. But he can see like how many fingers you're holding up, but there's no clarity to it at all. You
So
know,
he'll
It's just
probably
like,
need like an implant.
yeah, he's got to get lens. His iris is broken. So when you look at him, his
Ugh.
eye is black.
Oh
because
my
his
god.
his pupil is just basically completely dilated.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So protect your eyes, people, if you're listening.
And he just had surgery again where he has to lay down face down for 5 days, which I've heard
Mhm.
of, but I've never had
What?
anyone like, yeah.
He's had to do that multiple times. He's had retina issues, so he had to get his retina reattached on the back. It's just a mess.
Oh, so his retina detached.
Yeah.
That's the bad injury right there.
Yeah. They said it looked like a scalpel had stabbed him straight in the eye.
That's horrifying.
It's like
He's
my
lucky
worst nightmare.
honestly, he's lucky he's not blind though, because it didn't hit the I don't know, it's complicated, but it didn't like puncture the most important part of the eye, the center of your retina. It's called a macula.
Yeah,
So-
I've heard of that.
I don't have lenses in my eyes because I've had glaucoma since I was little.
Oh,
Yeah. So I have had several very painful eye surgeries as well throughout my life. So I can kind of identify. I can't identify with like being stabbed with a branch, but
Yeah.
I kind of know what he's going through.
yeah.
some level.
I've never thought that, you don't think like how much hurting your eye can debilitate you. I mean, he hasn't been able to drive.
Mhm.
He has an eye patch too, right?
Oh
Still?
yeah. And we're getting married in June, and basically the eye doctor was like, yeah, this is not going to be resolved by June. So get ready for pirate wedding. No, I'm just kidding. We're not doing that.
He looks so cute with the eye patch though. It's fine. It's so cute.
Yeah.
I was going to, we'll just have to, I'm going to scratch the whole like plan that we had. And, we're going to get a pirate ship cake and I'm going to get a bird on his shoulder. It's going to be like,
Bird.
I'm going to paint one of my teeth black. It'll be good.
Can you please do this? I would have the best wedding ever, or the best wedding time.
Do it.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. Yeah, it's gonna be great. So that's one way a tree can try to kill you.
So that's
So-
technically
That's technically
Earth.
Killer Earth. That's Killer Earth style right there.
I mean, yeah, if the tree went for him. So,
and his
Yeah.
other eye is okay, right?
yeah.
Okay. So that's good.
Yeah.
So that was one hell of a time you've had last year and still happening this year. But we wanted to talk to you. So this is like super scary. But we wanted to interview you about what happened when you got altitude sickness this year. And we just wanted
Yeah.
to hear the story, and like it will help educate, I think, many people on like what to do and what to, just tell the story, and we'll learn a lot from it, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, I think it's something that everybody should be aware of. I mean, most people are aware of altitude sickness, but I don't think a lot of people are familiar with what happened to me. And the acronym is HAPE, and it stands for high altitude pulmonary edema. And there's also, before I even tell the story, there's also another term that is, I wasn't officially diagnosed with, but they but they thought that I probably was going into that too. And it's called HACE. And that's high altitude cerebral edema.
Oh God.
And I've to preface
Preface.
Can you tell we're sisters, Vanessa?
Yes.
To preface the story.
I thought it was preference.
No,
it's
that's
preface.
like you have a preference. Preface
Oh.
to like
Jesus.
to like okay, yeah.
All right. Anyways.
So I am healthy. I had never been in the hospital prior. Very active, big hiker.
You're like a professional hiker. You've saved my life on many occasions. Hiking.
Just to clarify, I'm not professional. I do not get paid in any way. But I do, I do hike a lot, and I bike and run and all that stuff. So I'm pretty active. So I just never expected anything like this to happen to me. But we had a backpacking trip planned. There was quite a few of us. I think if I remember correctly, it was about 14 of us. And we were going for a 7-day trip. And I had all, full backpacking, like going out into the wilderness, no cell service kind of a thing. And we went up near Santa Fe. The Pecos Wilderness is where we were. And we kind of went out on our hike. And where I live, and also where I was living in Oregon, which is like basically sea level where we were. And then where I'm from, which is Tulsa, which is 722 feet. I looked it up. So I live mainly in low elevation climates. So that kind of made a difference as well. But
what are we? Are we high elevation?
I don't think you're high. I think you're pretty low.
You're like at sea level, Kat. I'm higher up. I'm in the mountains.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. Which makes a big difference of why this happened. But we went out, and the first day we drove a 10-hour day 10 hours from Tulsa to the kind of first camp place that we were going to set out from. And that was about 8,000 feet. And I didn't know this because it makes a difference with the story is I didn't know Santa Fe was so high up too. Santa Fe is 7,200 feet. Did you know that?
No, I have. I've never even been to New Mexico. It's like one of the states like I've never been to.
Oh yeah. It's cool. There's some really cool stuff there, but
yeah.
So we went, that's a pretty big jump right there, 700 to 8,000. So warning, probably better to acclimate a little better than that. Sometimes you can't help it though. Sometimes
so the first day, how high did you go? Like 7,200 the first day?
Well, no, the first day, our first camp was 8,000 feet up, but but that was no hiking involved. We were just driving up to the campsite, set up camp, and we were going to hike out the next day.
Oh.
So then we went out, and the first day was pretty great. We gained quite a bit of elevation. I think that second night we were already like just under 10,000 feet. So we had like a hard first day, and the weather was pretty good. And then it kind of all went downhill from there. They had Santa Fe that time of year. We looked into it. It was supposed to be a dry season or right before the rainy season. And they say June is a great month to go to Pecos Wilderness because it's usually drier and the snow's melted off in most places. So they said it's a great place to go in June. That's kind of why we picked it. Well, we didn't know this, but the time that we picked just so happened to be some very abnormal rain front that came through, and it rained every day.
Wow.
all day. Like
weird.
We had to build a shelter so we could dry our clothes out over the fire at like multiple times, putting our shoes on sticks so that we could put them next to the fire so they could try to dry out. It was honestly miserable. And
did you have a tent too? Or
yeah, we had a tent, but we were building a shelter because everyone was like we didn't want to just lay in our tiny backpacking tents all night. So we were trying to, I mean, it was just getting, usually it's like fun. You go swimming, you fish, and, you know, you hang out and you have a campfire, but it was raining like all constantly the whole time.
Mm.
And everyone was just kind of, oh, I hope it clears up, but it just never really did. And so day 5 is when I got sick, and we had a really hard hike that day. We were kind of near Pecos Baldy Mountain, and that's what it's called. And we hiked up, we went up to this ridge, and it was like 12,000 feet. And then we looked down to where we were going to try to camp, which was Pecos Baldy Lake. And that was a 500-foot path, like a drop down to the lake. So it was a really steep, like zigzagging hike, 500 feet down to the lake. So we did that.
Would have been something that I wouldn't have been able to do. Was it like that steep?
No, I mean, you probably would have been okay. It was just really like we kept laughing, thinking, oh, I'm glad we're going down this and not up. Like everyone was commenting, because it would have been really hard. It was just very, tons of switchbacks, which, are you familiar with that term?
Mm-mm.
So a switchback is like a part in the trail that turn. So you see switchbacks on trails when you're making either a steep decline or a steep ascent. So it makes it to where you can get up a steeper section without having to just walk straight up a hill. So it's very zigzaggy. So if you ever see a trail that has a tons of back and forth, it means that you're going up a steep section.
Oh, okay, cool.
So we dropped in the area, and then it started raining again. We're like, and it was freezing. And so we all are gathering firewood, and we're trying to warm up by the fire, and I'm doing fine. I'm going out and I'm getting firewood, and, you know, and just to also remind you, we hadn't had cell service in 3 days. So,
Oh my God.
I get to the campfire, and I sit down, and I said out loud to everyone, I said, this is around 6 p.m. I said, wow, I feel like a train hit me. That's all I could describe it like. And they were like, oh, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I think I'm fine. I think maybe I just need to go to bed. So I kind of forced myself to eat something. And then I went and laid down, and Jesse was like, are you okay? And I was shaking. I started shaking, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm just really cold. I'm tired. I'm just going to go in the tent, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of drizzling. So they were all kind of still by the fire trying to warm up and hang out and talk. And so I went by myself, and I started getting worse. And I was just shaking. And he checked on me like an hour later, and he's like, are you okay? And at this point, my teeth were chattering, and I was like, I don't know. Like, I can't get warm. I feel weird. And my teeth were like hitting each other. I couldn't control it. So I had to start putting on my clothes, and I was digging in my bag trying to get anything dry. And
oh yeah, because everything was like wet.
Yeah, my socks were all wet. So I found one pair of like the least dry amount of socks, and I get all my clothes on. I put my puffy coat on, and I get in my 0-degree bag inside the tent, and I can't get warm. I'm just shaking. And so he comes in, he's like, puts his 0-degree bag on top of me, and he's like, okay, I'm sorry you're feeling bad. I'll check on you in like a little bit. And I was like, I'm fine. I told him to go back. And then like, it just kept getting worse. And I remember thinking, please come back and check on me. And then
because you had no strength to get up.
I couldn't get up. I was just
Wow.
like, so he comes back to check on me, and I just I'm like bawling, and I'm like, I don't know. I feel really sick. I don't know what's wrong. And I was like, I'm so cold. And he's like, okay. I'm like, and he realizes that something's more wrong at this point, but now it's dark out.
Ugh.
And
you're like high up a mountain, like,
yeah, the campsite was like 11.5. So that's pretty high, but not as high as a lot of people that get what happened to me. That's another thing that was weird. But anyway, so he gets in the tent with me, and I'm still shaking, and it's been hours. I've been under all these sleeping bag, the sleeping bags. And so goes out to the fire. He's like a little angel. He goes out the
Yeah.
fire cold and starts heating me up water and it with like electrolytes in it, and like it comes back, and I actually finally like I drink it and I'm like, okay, I think I'm getting a little warmer, like maybe I'm turning it around.
Mm-hmm.
Then it just starts getting worse all through the night. And he used to be a paramedic for 12 years, and he's also a nurse for like 4 probably, or 5 4 and he doesn't get rattled very often, but he started feeling, I started breathing really fast, and I noticed it earlier in the night, but I couldn't, it got worse. And for like a normal respiratory rate is 12 to 20. That's what the textbook answer is. And I started breathing pretty fast, and I was like, okay. And my heart rate was racing, and I felt like my neck started getting stiff. And
Oh my God.
I was like, what's going on, and we woke up. I remember being up all night. I was intermittently crying, and we talked like, what do we need to do? Should we like leave? And I was like, I think I'm okay. Like I'm a stubborn thing. So I was like, I think I'm fine. And then at 3 a.m. is when I remember it really clearly. I was like, I'm not fine, and
Yeah.
my heart rate he didn't want to tell me the truth. He measured my heart rate, and he was like, it's like, it's a little over 100, but he later told me it was much higher than that. Like, and my heart rate runs in the 50s usually. So
Wow.
my heart rate, he said later, was in like upper 120s.
Oh.
I was breathing 40 times a minute, maybe like 45. I was really short of breath, and then the cough set in, and I was like, oh no. I started coughing, and I describe it. If anybody out there knows what a congestive heart failure patient sounds like when they cough, it sounds like wet and gross. So I started coughing, and he goes, why are you coughing? And I go, I don't know. Yeah. He was like, he didn't mean to ask me that. He was just like, he got scared.
Yeah.
And he's like,
He's
why?
probably, yeah.
Yeah. He's like, why are you coughing? And I'm like, I don't know. And then it kept getting worse and worse. And I started tasting like metallic in my mouth. And I was like, I think I taste blood. And
Oh my God.
and then I couldn't move my head really well. I would like try to lift my head off my like the little pocket on my sleeping bag, that's my quote unquote pillow. And I was like, like grabbing my neck. I was like, my neck feels like I have like meningitis or something. Like
Oh my God.
my head was pounding, and I couldn't barely lift my head up. And I was like, this is bad. And he was scared, and I'm not religious. He's a little religious, and he didn't know at the time that I heard him. He thought I was asleep, but he was like literally praying next to me, like,
Yeah.
please get her. He was like, please get her through the night kind of idea. And
Geez, that must have been scary to hear that, because Jesse is a really calm person in like emergency situations.
no, that's why when he was scared, he never gets rattled. I mean, he's had so many health experiences. You wouldn't believe like all the stories he has from his days as a paramedic even. And, we work with really sick people. We're in the ICU. So we do, for him to be nervous, I was like, okay, this is bad. So
yeah,
he's like, what do we got to do? I think we maybe need to leave. And I'm like, it's raining, it's freezing, it's dark. We have no cell service. I don't know. And he's like, he was like contemplating maybe like trying to get down himself and getting help. And then he didn't want to leave me. And I kind of, side note, I was also scared because a couple years prior to this, I was on I hiked a mountain by myself, but I say by myself loosely, because at the time I was in this like single, I'm doing this, I'm free, like I'm gonna go live my life. And I went on this 3-week solo road trip by myself.
It was awesome. I wish everybody could do that. Like that
it was
sounds
amazing. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to hike up a mountain. I thought that was irresponsible. So I hired a guide at the time just to take me up the mountain. It was an overnight trip, and he was a mountain rescuer, and he told me a story about a young girl that went up with her friends hiking and got sick, just like what I was describing kind of. And they went back to get help and she stayed behind. And then he said that when they got there, she was dead.
Oh my
Um,
God.
And so that story was ringing in my head. And I said, I'm not staying up here. I was like, no way.
Right.
What? So we get the map out and it's the middle of the night. We get the map out and I can barely see, but he's looking at it. He gets the light on it and he's like, I don't know what to do. Like I said, I can't make it out of that bowl. Like that, what I was telling you at the beginning of the story where we dropped in the 500 feet.
I said, you would have had to go back up the 500 feet and you probably
and I was like, I can't make it. I knew it. I knew I couldn't make it out of that bowl, but I said, I think there's another way. I swear. I remember looking at the map yesterday and I think there's another way out. And he's like, I don't think there is, Lauren. And I was like, no, look at, please, like pull, like, let's look at it. He's like, digging his map out and we're like, kind of like, okay, what are we going to find? And there's another trail. And, instead of it being, up, it's all the way downhill and it just goes right out. It's 9 miles, 3,000 foot drop. And it goes basically downhill the whole time besides like, intermittent short sections where there's a little bit of an incline, and I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to try to get out of here, and, so that was the plan. I said, let's just wait 2 more hours. Let's get the sun. We need the sun to come up because, the area had been hit by fire. No, I don't know exactly when, but the trees were the day before. The trail was really hard because we had to climb over trees all day because the trail was blocked with downfalls, basically trees that had been burned and fallen. And so I was like, well, how am I supposed to get out if I have to climb over trees?
Yeah.
And I just got lucky because the next day I get up and the rest of the crew didn't know how bad I was. And we get up and Jesse, he packs everything up and I'm like bawling. They're like, are you okay? And I'm like by the fire, uncontrollably shaking and can't breathe and about to puke. And I look terrible. I have a picture, of me and I look like a different person. Like my eyes are sunken in and, and so, they were like, well, what do we need to do? And I said, I'm going to walk. And, I didn't carry my bag. I couldn't carry my bag. I couldn't. So some of the group members took some of my gear and then Jesse carried his backpack and then my backpack on the front of his body. And, we had 2 younger nieces with us so they came with us too. And, we left and I could barely, every time I walked just 10 steps, I had to stop and breathe.
Oh my God.
Wow.
For 9 miles.
Well, the cure for altitude sickness is de-elevation, like getting down. So I knew what I needed to do and I was like, I'm going to walk. And I was trying not to throw up because I was afraid that throwing up would make my head, because that increases your cranial pressure when you throw up. And so Jesse had nausea medicine and I took that and I thought I was going to puke and so every 10 steps for the first bit, I was like, I'm so sorry. And they're like, stop apologizing. Like we're going to get down. And so we dropped about, I don't know how I did. I honestly was the sickest I've ever been in my life. And I started walking and luckily for me, it was all downhill because there's no way, I'm telling you, because there's no way I could have done it if it wasn't downhill because
you couldn't have gone up 500 feet to get out of there, right? Because that would have just made it worse.
No, because I just couldn't physically do it. I couldn't breathe. So every time there was an incline, even when on the way down, the 9 miles down, there was a couple times where I like cried because I was like, I don't think I can walk up that hill. Like it was that bad, So
oh my God.
anyway, so we got out we dropped down about 1,000 feet, and then I was like, okay, I'm not having to actively not puke anymore. So I was like, okay, that's a little better. So, but I kept having to brake still. And then we got down another 1,000 feet, and I was like, okay, I think I can do this. I think I was still really short of breath, and I was like, I think I can do this. And I'm so stubborn, you guys. I literally, because Jesse was carrying so much weight, I was like, give me my backpack back. And he's like, you're being ridiculous. And I was like, no, I was like, I want to carry it. And I took my backpack back because I'm a
Oh
psycho.
my God. I would have been such a baby and be like, carry me.
So then I get my backpack on, and there was a small incline. I'm like barely, and I had to give the backpack back.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So anyways, I got down the 9 miles, and
did you do the 9 miles all in one day? Like just to get out of there and like,
yeah, we walked 9 miles.
oh my God.
This is a
And
nightmare.
the only reason he even carried my backpack is he was afraid that I wasn't going to make it all the way down. And if we had to stop and sleep again at a lower elevation, he didn't want my sleeping bag and my clothes to be up at the top of the mountain. So that was the only reason we didn't just like leave my backpack.
I was wondering that, but I mean, yeah, that made sense. I have a question really quick. I got confused. Did you wait 2 hours to daylight? Like after you would like, it was 3 a.m. and you did wait 2 more hours, or did you just leave?
No, we waited because we thought it was more dangerous. Like what if we didn't know where we were going, and with the down trees, we were afraid we were going to run into a bunch of down trees, and then that would have been worse to get completely lost.
Oh yeah, okay, makes sense. I mean, and that must have been scary though, to be like, okay, I'm probably going to die, but I need to wait 2 more hours.
Yeah, and all, like Jesse was really scared, and I was scared. But when you're in that situation, I don't know how other people handle it. Maybe it's because I'm stubborn, but I knew I was in trouble, but I never was like, I never felt like, I think it's because of my mental attitude. I'm just kind of a tough person. Yeah. And not trying to pat myself on the back. I think it's almost too tough. Like I'm like really stubborn, but I think that I never really was like, I'm going to die in the next 2 hours. I was like, I'm going to make it to the sun, like sunlight. That's how I felt. I was like, I'm going to do this. So I got down, and I was like, I think I'm a lot better, but I still felt really sick, but I was like, I think I'm okay, and then we go to the hotel, and we have to go up a staircase to get to the room. And I'm like, I couldn't even barely walk up the staircase. And so I get in the room, and they're all like, we're going to go to dinner. And Jesse's like, are you okay? I don't want to go to dinner, but our nieces were with us, and everybody else followed us back down because they were miserable up there. They were like, you were a good excuse for us to bail on this trip.
Yeah.
Because it was still raining, And so the nieces really wanted to go to dinner. And I said, just take them to dinner. If they want to go, I'm fine. Just go. I swear I'm fine. We're down off the mountain. I'm good, And then I fall asleep right when they leave. And then he was gone for like 3 hours, and I didn't even really realize that they had even left. I said, I'm in trouble. I got to go to the ER when he got back. And
my God.
And I had a fever. And so we go to the ER. I'm just making myself sound so bad on here, but go to the ER, and we sit there for like an hour, and they don't even triage me. And it didn't look very busy. They didn't even like say, hey, what are you here for? It was just sitting in the waiting room.
Yeah.
And I felt so sick that I told him, I said, please let's just go back to the hotel. I can't barely, like, I need to go to bed. I don't want to be here anymore. And he's like, well, are you sure? And I'm like, yes, please, let's just go back. And so he's like, okay. And so the next morning, I'm still really sick. And I talked to one of my doctor friends, because I used to work emergency. Mm-hmm. And he's like, go buy a pulse ox at Walgreens, the oxygen reader. And I was like, that's a good idea. And because I was telling him, should I go back to the ER? And I go to the Walgreens, and my oxygen's in the 80s.
What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Like
a normal person is 95 or above.
Oh.
And my oxygen level was like in the 80s, which for
Wow.
me, that's like very low. And I could still, every time I walked, it would drop. And because I had this little portable one on my finger, and I was like, yeah, I need to go to the hospital. But I said, but I don't want to be here, stay here. And we looked up the elevation, and that's when we realized, wow, Santa Fe is still 7,200 feet up. And so I said, let's go home. And because I said, I'll go to the ER at home, because I was like, isn't the cure getting lower? Let's just go. And the wait at the Santa Fe ER was really long. And I said, and I have friends at my ER at home. All my friends, I used to work there. So all my friends were working, and I texted them. I was like, I'm coming. And so it was a
Yeah.
9-hour drive, and my oxygen got better as we drove and got lower. It was interesting.
Oh my God.
And then I get to the ER, and it was funny. I was still breathing in the 40s, and the one of the nurse practitioners that I didn't know very well, she comes in to see me, and she's like, do I need to give you Ativan, which is an anxiety med? And I was like, no, I don't need it. I'm not anxious. Like, and so I was a little offended, because I was like, this is not anxiety. I'm really trying. I was like, I'm trying not to breathe this fast. And
Yeah.
so then they did a CT scan, and I had bilateral pulmonary. It showed bilateral pneumonia with pulmonary hemorrhage. Wait, so I had both of my lungs had bleeding.
Oh, and that was caused by the altitude sickness.
Yeah.
Holy shit. So that's how
so
you
dangerous.
So not to be like morbid, but that's how someone would die if you had stayed in the woods with no help.
Basically how it works is I don't know exactly. I mean, I read about it, but so I can give you an idea, but our bodies are used to a certain pressure when you're in a lower elevation, or if you grew up in a higher elevation, like your bodies adapt to the pressure of the environment, and your lungs kind of deflate and inflate based on, they adapt to that pressure that on the outside. And so they think how it works is you go up into altitude, it's less pressurized up there. So your lungs are like having trouble deflating and inflating appropriately. And then I'd have to read more about it, but then what happens is your little capillaries, which are your tiny vessels in your lungs, they start getting leaky, they call it. And basically it was like fluid and blood was leaking out of all my little vessels in my lung. And basically the lungs were filling up with fluid and blood. And that's how you die from it, because you can't exchange oxygen.
God.
Because your lungs fill up with fluid, and then they can't do their normal oxygen exchange.
Oh my God.
But the one that was more deadly than that, which HAPE is very deadly, but the deadliest form of altitude sickness is cerebral edema, which by the time I was down, my headache was better and my neck wasn't as bad. But when you read about, they were wondering if I was going into the cerebral form because of what I described with my neck and my head pain. And that is when your brain can't adapt to the pressure and your brain starts to swell, and then you can die that way.
So is that what was going on when you were about to enter that like phase?
I don't know. I can't know for sure, but they thought, they were thinking that because
it sounds like
because
it.
I was having meningitis type pain, like severe neck pain, stiffness, headache. Jesse, I forgot to tell you this. Jesse looked at me in the middle of the night, and he looked at me, and he thought my eyes were like bulging.
Oh my God.
So,
so
anyways,
so like theoretically, if someone like me who lives in like a higher altitude was to do a hike like that, like, do you think it really had to do with the fact that even though you're in really great shape, you live in this low altitude space?
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much the only.
Well, this has happened to a lot of people, even Olympic athletes. This is a big cause of why people die when they go to Everest. They can be the best shape of their life and still have this happen. And that's kind of the lesson that I learned. And probably the biggest takeaway is it doesn't really matter how in shape you are. It's not about
Right.
that.
It's just like where you're altitude, where you like normally are altitude wise.
Yeah. And then they said weather and exertion can play a big part, and also dehydration. And those all were playing a part because the day that I got really sick was the hardest hike of the whole trip. We had a massive elevation gain that everybody was just like, wow, that was so steep. I can't believe it. And so that probably played into it. I probably didn't drink enough water, and we probably didn't acclimate appropriately, because another takeaway is that HAPE hits on average 2 to 4 days in elevation. And this was the 5th day. It was like going into the 5th day of the trip. So it kind of, it does take a few days for you to get like that.
Wow. Why do you think you got it versus like Jesse, who's also lived with you in the same places and is, like, why do you think like no one else like experienced it? I guess
Well,
it's just luck of the draw.
I don't know
or-
why it happened to me, but I will say that there was 2 other women on the trip that didn't have what happened to me, but they got sick. And I think they
Oh.
were like, a couple of them threw up and had headaches, and those are more mild forms of altitude sickness. But I think the biggest takeaway was acclimating, because we came from a lower elevation to a higher one pretty fast, and also the doctor said, I said, are my mountain days done? Because that's heartbreaking to me. I
Oh
can't
my
even,
God.
like, and
I was
he
worried
said-
about that for you, honestly.
he said no. He said that you shouldn't climb more than, I think he said 1,300 feet in a day and stay there. So I could technically go out tomorrow and climb a really hard hike and go to the top of a mountain and come back. And because it's like I said, it's the longer exposure, like the 2 to 4 days. But he's like, but if you climb more than 1,300 feet in a day and stay there, then you're more susceptible. I'm also more susceptible because it's already happened to me.
I was going to ask. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
And
just
then-
have to be careful, like going forward.
Yeah. And there's a medication I can take that I can pre-medicate before I go to the mountains. It's called Diamox. And it apparently can help prevent that from happening. But I don't know. It sucks.
Yeah. Well, also, like, you couldn't fly for 3 months after either.
Yeah, they were just afraid that with the pressure changes, they didn't want to mess with anything. And then I got home and I couldn't really exercise. I was in the hospital for like 6 days, I think.
Yeah. It was
And-
so scary. I remember being like so upset because like we didn't even know what had really happened. And like, because you had no cell service. So you were just like, guys, I'm in the hospital. This is what happened. But we were like, what? And then Jesse or somebody took a picture, or you took a picture of yourself and you looked so sick. I've never seen you look like that.
I know it's kind of creepy looking. Yeah. And then when I was in the hospital, I remember I need to stop being so stubborn, but when it comes to like self-care, but a couple of days into the hospital, I'm like, doc, I'm ready to go. I live right. I was like, I'm ready. She's like, well, you're still on oxygen. I was like, yeah, just like a couple liters. Like I'm good, And she's like, so I take the oxygen off and she's in the room and she's like, I'm not ready for you to go, And then I start getting short of breath.
Yeah.
and I found out later that there was like a note in the computer, like through the my chart, and it said patient insistent on going home, takes off oxygen, quickly realizes she is not ready.
Don't let her out in like bold. Oh my God. That is insane. And you know what? I'm pretty okay. I think being stubborn is kind of what saved your life. So good for you. And I don't think it's anything to not be proud of. And B, I think that if it wasn't for that solo hike you took a few years ago and heard that story, I think that story is a big part of what saved your life. honestly, because if you hadn't heard that story about somebody else dying and experienced something like you did, maybe you wouldn't have even noticed or maybe you would have stayed behind or something. You know what I mean?
I think that if I hadn't heard those stories, or I also been in medical, it's because I'm in medical, like,
Yeah.
field. I'm in the medical field. I knew I was in trouble, and that's why it's important to talk about this story, because people that are not in medical, they might just say, yeah, I think it's better for me to sit here and wait, but it's not.
Right.
It's not, yeah. It's so important to hear stories like this, because again, like, I'm not a nurse, and I probably would have been like, oh, I'm just cold, or like I have a flu or something. I wouldn't have known, so it's like, now I know that if I'm starting to feel weird like that, like, get the heck down.
Yeah. And so when I get down and I'm texting my doctor friend, and I'm like, I think I had HAPE. I think I have HAPE. That's what I told him. I had a feeling, because it seemed to fit, and he's like, no, he's like, not at 12,000 feet, because you read about it and it most likely happens above 14. And so, and I was like, I swear, like, it seems to fit. And, and it was crazy, because he was like kind of surprised that that's what my diagnosis was.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
well, I won't be going there, but thank you.
I'm afraid to hike now more than I was before.
well, I mean, it's the risk going out, especially without cell service nowadays. I mean, after that situation, I don't want it to be the end of my hiking days. And I was like telling Jesse, I was like, do we need to get a satellite phone?
I would. Oh my
Yeah.
God. I would so get a satellite phone.
I think you should. That's scary.
And now you
Yeah.
have medication for it. Now you know how to acclimate. Like, I think that you should definitely, I mean,
But I think it's the fact that, like, anyone in your situation could just like go for a hike and this could happen to them. That's what freaks me out the most.
yeah.
But just remember the signs, and remember that most people aren't going to be out for like that long, and this can happen to even going up in like skiing. Say you live in a lower elevation and you fly to Breckenridge. Breckenridge is like 9,600 feet. You can technically get HAPE going on a ski trip. You just have to be careful. Like, if you start getting short of breath, if your heart rate's racing, I mean, any like new onset of coughing, like, those are some signs that you need to look out for, and take them seriously. And the best cure is to get down, go lower.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
I think mom, when she went out to Utah, didn't, like, her and our cousin Jane and Allie, didn't they all get headaches because they were just like in higher elevation? But it wasn't like it wasn't like bad, but they all felt sick the first night.
Yeah, that's pretty common with altitude sickness. Most people if they make a big jump in altitude, you're going to get symptoms like that, like mild headache, just kind of feeling a little more weak, tired, even the heart rate elevation a little bit. But it's when what you want to look for, like vomiting is a big no-no. And, just, I guess, looking out for the signs of more serious illness, shortness of breath, anything like chest pain or, neck stiffness, those kinds of things that are not super abnormal, or, not a normal altitude sickness.
Yeah. Wow, that is an incredible story. I'm so glad you're okay.
I know. It was really scary, and I don't get really worked up too often, but it's funny. So we kind of distributed my pack, and I've taken years to collect like really nice backpacking stuff, so I was fine. I was like, I'm alive. I don't care. But the funny thing is, the person that took a lot of my, gear, their pack got stolen when they got to the bottom.
Oh no.
So like half my gear got stolen.
That's not fair.
No,
That's
you had the worst day.
That makes me really upset.
I know. Give the girl a break.
Seriously, what the hell?
2021 was not kind to you. I mean, you're alive, and so it was kind, and you had
some random hiker swiped it.
Oh, they were not like they didn't do the smartest thing, and they left the pack in the back of the truck went in to grab food, and so somebody walked by and took it.
Oh, what an ass.
So
That's so stupid.
I don't know if you guys heard, but my 5-year-old's in the background and she is listening to me going, "Oh my God." And she just goes, I don't know why she's now saying this phrase. I have no idea. She goes, "Damn, son." So I hope the audio picked that up.
I really hope so too. I didn't hear it, but I think you never know.
Oh my God, I just heard her
I
again.
don't know why she's anyway. But that's how I feel. Damn.
Yeah, that's
I hear her.
Yeah.
well, I'm really glad you're okay, and I really appreciate you sharing your story. What's your next hike? Have you decided?
No, and the group's going out next year, and they're like, I think we're going to do a high elevation hike, like the Tetons. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm out because I'm not ready. I'm not ready. You know,
I'm sure you have a lot of PTSD from it too. Maybe you don't.
I do. I said, you know what? I didn't really like the backpacking tent we had. It was small, and I told Jesse, I said, I hate this tent because it feels like I'm in a sardine can, you know, and that's what you do when you backpack. You get the smallest, lightest thing. But I was like, I said, I'd rather carry a little extra weight than have this sardine can of a tent. And you know what? I told him when we got home, I'll never get in that tent again, ever.
Yeah, because it will just bring back too many things. Like,
no, it was horrible feeling like you can't breathe. And then in this tiny tent cramped with someone, I was like, I said, that tent's out. We're done.
yeah, I would get rid of it too. It's bad luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm already a little bit, I don't have claustrophobia except for like a little bit, maybe. Okay, maybe I do a little bit, but
I have it for sure.
Me too. Yeah, I think like when you first started telling the story, when I was calm until you started talking about your breathing.
yeah.
Because I just can't imagine. I like not being able to breathe is the worst feeling. And I just can't imagine being where you were and starting the coughing and the breathing.
Yeah, I kept trying
Yeah.
to tell myself, am I breathing? Like, why am I breathing this fast? At
Ugh.
first, it didn't make a lot of sense. I was like, slow your breathing down, but I physically couldn't.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so scary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was pretty
man.
bad.
Yeah, you handled that so much better than I think I would have, honestly. Just
I
because I
mean-
just get anxiety about my heart rate going up in an exercise class.
Yeah, me too. I would have
I
had
don't
a
know,
full-blown panic attack.
I don't know what else do you do though when when you don't have a lot of options, you know? I mean,
Yeah. I know.
we could have gotten up in the middle of the night, but that could have been bad if we took the wrong way. I
Right.
mean,
Like, what if you had just like walked off a cliff because you couldn't see? is that something?
That would suck.
yeah,
That's all I
mean,
can think about.
I know, but and we also had the younger girls with us that, you know, their mom didn't go on the trip and we were their guardians. Like we told her,
Oh God.
Oh,
we told her
Jesus.
we were like, they really wanted to come. And so she said, well, they can come as long as they stay with you and Jesse. And,
Wow.
and so I don't know. It was like, we got to drag. It was just a lot to think about in the middle of the night. That's all. It's just,
Aren't you glad I wasn't with you? Because I
oh,
would have
man,
been
you
like,
would have been like panicked.
I would have been panicked, and I would have been like, Jesse, I'm stuck on this cliff. Come get me. Jesse saves my life all the time when we go hiking. I'm kind of a pain in the ass because I'm so scared of heights. And there's been so many times where he's had to like save me.
Yeah. So we went to Mount St. Helens with Katie.
Yeah.
And there was a little like a trail that kind of went along this edge. And to me, I'm not scared of heights. So I was like, yeah, even if you fell right here, you're not going to like go down. It's like it was steep, but it wasn't like, to me, it wasn't like anywhere that you would just like fall off and die.
Well,
You'd be able to like hold on to something, you know? And
well,
Katie,
not really, because the gravel was so loose that it would just roll down like a tumbleweed.
Katie literally couldn't. She like sat down and crawled off the trail.
She showed me that photo and I was like, why are you like squatting on the trail? It doesn't look that bad.
It
No, it
wasn't
actually
that
looks
bad.
like I'm majestic and I'm like looking out, like enjoying the view, but really I was like crying.
Yeah, you were like, it was so bad.
Yeah, we had to push her up the hill on the opposite. We had to bail on the whole hike.
Yeah, you pushed me up and Jesse like got up higher and took my hand and like got me out of that spot.
If If you went hiking with me and Jesse, you'd probably like be too scared because we do some.
Oh
we get,
no. Yeah. I only go on like the baby hikes with you guys. And remember that time when the California one, or no, the Oregon one, where you guys like went up, like we all went up that trail, and then like mom and I like freaked out.
and
Oh
it
my
wasn't even
God.
that bad. And I told mom, I said, Mom, if you act like this, you don't get invited to hikes anymore because, because
I
it
was
wasn't even-
crying and
Yeah,
freaking
okay.
out. And mom
Yeah.
was like, Julie, because Julie like got stuck on this cliff thing, and Jesse had to save her too. It was like, oh my God, it was so bad.
Well, if anyone's listening that has been to Cannon Beach, it was literally right near Cannon Beach, and it's not even that scary.
It's not even, well, it was for me because I was just like, I don't know. I can't even get like 5 feet within an edge without freaking out. So
I don't
but it
know
was
how I
really
got
fun.
that gene. I'm not scared of heights.
I wish I had it.
I'm so scared of heights.
Because I have that thing where I want to jump off. I don't want to, but I feel like I'm going to.
Yeah, I think that's kind of common. A lot of people talk.
No, Lauren, that's a thing.
What?
It's this urge. It's this urge to jump when you're like high up on something.
What?
Yeah.
Never heard of that.
Well,
Mhm.
you don't want to jump, but you feel like you're just gonna jump.
My cousin has it, and we were in a Ferris wheel one time, and he was like, I want to jump right now from the top."
What?
And I was like, what? Don't do that.
I don't think he wants to. I think he feels like he's going to.
Yeah, but you feel this urge, like you're just going to. Yeah.
Yeah, I have.
He
the
wasn't like,
same
I want to
weird
jump
thing.
and it's going to be fun. He was like, something's telling me to jump and I'm terrified of myself.
Right.
Ooh, I don't like that. That's like, do you have like a demon in you?
Yeah.
I think there's a name for it. I swear I
You
just
ever-
saw an article about it.
The
Hey,
height.
do you have a
demon.
resident demon?
I know. It's really weird. Like that's why I don't even like getting close like 5 feet, even if I feel fine. But I also think I'm gonna have like that weird what do you call it? Where you can't balance all of a sudden. Indigo. Vertigo. I just said indigo.
And
It's vertigo.
oh, I found it. I googled it.
What is
What
it?
is it called?
It's called the call of the void.
What?
It's the
Yeah, it's a
impulse to
thing.
hurl yourself into a void, and it's
Mhm.
very common.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
I
That's
have it. I'm
weird.
serious. It's really weird, and it like makes me second guess myself. And it's because I'm so scared of heights. It's like a weird thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
I-
so this kind of reminds me of something I was reading about the other night, which I hopefully I'm getting off topic, but kind of. But have you ever heard of wingsuit? Like, have you ever heard this word like wingsuiting? Wingsuit,
Where you put on the
wear
suit and you,
where
and
they-
you jump off.
you jump off like cliffs or mountains or
Yeah,
high
like
buildings,
a
and
flying squirrel.
Yeah.
like a flying squirrel, and it's
Yeah.
like the deadliest sport in the world.
I don't
Yeah,
even.
people do
I,
it all the time.
I can't even identify with anyone that would ever do that. I don't understand.
So
that
that's what you
person.
made me think about. Maybe these people have that. What is it? The fear of the void, or what did you say?
Oh yeah, the call of the void.
The call of the void. Maybe these people have the call of the void, and they're like just want to jump off things.
I
don't know how they land. Do they have a parachute?
I don't know.
They have a parachute towards the end. I went on a deep dive with this the other day,
Hmm.
but a lot of people die doing it because they miscalculate their route. All it takes is turning the wrong way just a little bit, and you'll land you'll land in the trees instead of a grassy field, or
Ugh.
they clip like they'll think they have enough wind to carry them over like a ridge top, but they'll just like slam right into the mountain, that kind of thing.
I think that's called the call of the stupid.
Good one.
It's like, I don't know. I just cannot imagine that. But yeah, it's like, that's crazy to me.
But we're on the like other end of the spectrum. We're afraid of hot air balloons and
Yeah.
duck boats.
Yeah, duck boats. don't
You're
ever
afraid
do
of
that.
duck boats?
Oh my God, they're the
we
worst.
We both have a fear of them.
I will
That's
never go on one.
hilarious.
Because if they're so heavy that if it sinks, you die.
Well, you
Like-
can swim out, but I think you have a very small window.
Very small window because it sucks you down like the Titanic.
kind of. I mean, they're so much smaller.
Look,
but-
Google duck boat accidents, and pretty much all of them have died. Like all the people in the
yeah, because they
They're just-
don't get out of their seat because they're not sure what to do, so they don't swim out when
Yeah.
they're supposed to.
But this podcast
Yeah.
will teach you to be afraid of everything. So
Yeah, that's true.
yeah. But
Yeah.
Well, I will clarify, heights don't scare me, but going off of heights does. Like, you know that bridge in Maine that we jump off of, Katie, the cousins.
yeah.
I get really scared when I'm on the edge of it and I'm gonna jump because I don't like being out of control. That's
Yeah.
like I don't want to skydive because I don't have control of whether the parachute opens or not.
Yeah, I
Right.
don't like that. No. You can
So,
you
but
can
I'm not
be-
scared of heights if I'm on my 2 feet and I'm on an edge. I'm like, well, I trust my feet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. We haven't I will not jump off the Cousins Bridge anymore though. Ever since like that scuba diver told us that shrapnel was under there.
I know. I don't want to do it again either.
Yeah, I'm over that. But that was fun while it lasted. But I know what you mean. Like it's like being in control. Like that's why I'm afraid of other people driving. I have to be like the driver because I feel like I'm in control.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But other people driving, I'm a horrible backseat driver. And I don't mean to be. I just feel like no one's paying attention as much as I am.
Well, some aren't. There's a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah,
shitty
definitely aren't.
drivers.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. And I hope you guys learned something from this.
Well, you're welcome. And I hope I didn't bore you to tears.
No, way.
That's
no.
a really terrifying story. You're
Yeah.
a hero for getting down.
I don't know. I just felt like I didn't have a choice. You know?
I do feel like some people would not have been able to walk themselves out of there.
No,
So
totally.
And I do commend you for that. I think that's
Mhm.
you are very, very tough.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I tried.
And
But
stay that way. And stay away from trees. And
Don't go on any bulldozers.
Don't
Well,
go on a
Without
joyride.
protective eyewear.
I know. Yeah. We just gotta our boss at our job says that we need to wrap ourselves in bubble wrap for 2022.
Yes.
seriously.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. Well, thanks again, Lauren. You're the best. Survivor
Yeah, thank you.
can survive this earth if you want to.
If you're Lauren and you're tough, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you for
Alright.
having me on.
You're
Yeah.
so
Thank
welcome.
you. Thanks to all our listeners. Don't forget we have merch.
All right.
We
Bye,
do.
guys.
Bye.
I heard her in the background.
Coming when you want, coming when you need, coming in the morning, I'll be on my way.